Welcome back all. I have another build for you here. This is a quick one. In this setup I have my Arduino Mega. I have a little board here just for the purposes of distributing power because we're using two servos, and it's best to not attempt to power your servos from the Mega board's onboard regulator. So I have a power supply here that is providing 5 volts of power just for the purposes of powering the servos. The wiring here is pretty simple. Most of this is just power and ground for the servos. I connect the ground also to the Mega board. There's 2 lines to pins 8 and 9 on the Mega, which provide the servos with their pulse width signal. Here's what it looks like when it runs. I didn't make a fancy backdrop, but you certainly could use this method to make whatever kind of display that you like with various different servos and whatnot. These are just 2 little mini servos I had hanging around, so I just chose to use them. You can see when I increase the RPM on either engine, I get a response that tracks the RPM. Here's just the left engine. And here's both engines. Let's dig into the code. I'll show you how it works really quick. Here's the sketch. I've called it XPLPro Dual RPM Gauge. My naming creativity isn't the greatest, I apologize. This will be available in the example folder of the XPLPro distribution, so you can find it at examples XPLPro, somewhere in there. Also, to use this, I have made some changes to the plugin. I fixed a few bugs, and I've also enabled the feature where scaling can be done with data that's being sent from the plugin to the Arduino, so you can do the scaling there to save on processor time on the Arduino device. You'll need to make sure that you have the servo library installed. I'm making use of this here. It's by Michael Margolis. I'm defining 2 servo instances for my 2 servos, one for the RPM1, one for RPM2. I'm defining 2 pins to connect the signal wires to the servos too. I've got pins 8 and 9. I need 1 data ref. It's a data ref that sends us information about the engine RPM. It is an array of floats, so we only need 1 data ref to reference it. I'll show you how that works later on. In the setup portion of our code, we need to let the servo library know that we're attaching and which pins, so I've done that here. Everything else is normal XPLPro stuff. Nothing required in the loop other than the XPLPro X loop. I'll come back to the inbound handler. In the register, we have this data ref here that is the array of floats that give us our RPM. So we're registering it here. We're requesting updates. This is an array, so we have to do it for each element that we want. I'm using elements 0 as engine 1 or your left engine. Element 1 is your right engine, or engine number 2. I'm asking for updates no more than every 200 milliseconds. That's about 5 times per second. It's adequate for a RPM gauge. I'm also asking for RPM increments no more precise than about 20 RPM. The purpose of that is to reduce data flow. RPM comes from XPlane with a decimal point, and we don't really care about the decimal component of the RPM when we're just indicating with the servo, so 20 RPM increments should be just fine. This is a new feature that I've just enabled. We used to have set scaling going to the plugin. It's now enabled for data coming from the plugin. So on our Beechcraft Baron, the scale on the built-in indicator and the model goes from 0 to 3500. So we're going to ask the plugin to scale the data from that range to the range of the servo. And I've also got these backwards here to make the servos go the correct direction. You can change these to whatever you want. Servos have a limited range. Some servos have more range than others. You may want a different scale or whatever, but I'm just starting with this because it works fine for the demonstration. When we receive data from the plugin, it'll be sent to us in the inbound handler through this structure. We test and see if it's the data ref that we asked for. And then we look at the two elements, and then we send that range that we're being sent to the servo. That's it. Pretty simple. I hope this is useful to you in some way. You will need to update your XPLPro plugin and library. I'm going to try to have that available on the Patreon page and also on the Discord page probably later on tonight, so watch for that to come across. I'll also produce a video explaining the bugs that have been fixed and the changes that have been made. Make sure to subscribe, like our videos. It helps us understand if there's people interested in this kind of content. It also encourages me to continue work on this project. So I hope to see you in the next video. Have an awesome day.